Hello, ladies. I just want to say before we get started this week and finish up the book of Judith, this is a wild one for those who read it, and I'm excited to go through it. But I wanted to say happy feast of the presentation of Jesus and happy feast day of St. Blaise. I praying for all of you, and I hope that the first month of Fiat is over. Can you imagine? Can you fathom, I should say? We're not imagining, it's real. But it's wild. I can't believe the first month is gone already. But at the same time, it feels like it's been a year. So time is weird, but I'm excited for this new month, new start in many ways, especially for myself, who may have not been so good at some of the disciplines during January. I'm excited to kind of have a reset for this month. So we will see. But praying for all of you in this second month that we're starting, and let's dive right in. So we left off with Judith. She just got to Holofernes's camp, and she just kind of walked right in, and she is determined, and she has a plan. God has given her a plan to defeat Holofernes. So she walks right in, and all of the men just find her so beautiful, and they are just taken by her and her beauty. So they just let her walk right in, and she's like escorted to Holofernes with 100 troops, like 100 soldiers. So I can't imagine that entrance of feeling completely surrounded by the enemy, and it's just you and your handmaid. So I give a lot of props to her in that moment, because I would have my doubts of whether God's plan for me was correct or not. So she enters the camp, and then it goes by pretty quickly that she enters the camp. She spends 3 days there, and Holofernes gives her everything that she needs and allows her to go out in the middle of the night to pray. And then on the third day, she is presented to Holofernes, as well as his servants. So she is welcomed into his banquet that he had for his slaves only, but wanted her to join because he felt that she would look down on him for not inviting her. So he invites her. She comes, and Holofernes is just bewitched by her in a sense. He is overcome by her beauty, and he starts drinking a lot. And he drinks so much wine that it's the most drunk he has ever been. And as we get into chapter 13, everyone leaves the tent and leaves Judith and Holofernes alone. And Judith, she doesn't waste time. He is passed out. He's passed out drunk. So she takes a sword and in 2 swings cuts off his neck and beheads him. Yeah. So the first time I read this, I was just like, what just happened? This is in the Bible? There's a lot of things in the Bible, but a woman cutting off the head of Nebuchadnezzar's army's head. And the first time I read it, I was kind of confused. I was like, what is God trying to tell us in this? How is this part of the Bible? Why is this included? And I asked a priest friend of mine, I was like, what is the meaning behind this? And he put it in a simpler tone as Holofernes represented Nebuchadnezzar's army. And with that, he reflected and represented sin in a sense. Like they were going out to kill anyone who came into their path and all those who denied seeing Nebuchadnezzar as God. So he said, in a sense, she was cutting off the head of sin, Satan. She was nipping it right off. And I guess in the sense that makes sense, like how, especially how we're living fiat right now, we're taking everything out of our lives that's causing us to doubt, that's causing us to compare ourselves to others, that's causing us distraction from our true vocation or our true calling that's right in front of us that God's calling us to. So, and in that sense, it makes sense. But I was also thinking, and this is where it gets kind of cool, and it reflects it here in the Bible. So, Judith goes back to Israel, and this time frame is really quick. So she leaves in the middle of the night like she usually does to go pray. So she had that set up. Nobody questioned. She left. She completely left, went to Israel, went back to her homeland, which I guess is not far a walk because she walked there in less than a day as well. And everyone was so surprised. She survived. How did she survive? So then she told everyone what happened, and then she told Israel to get their troops ready and to go down to the camp where all the soldiers were. So this all happened before morning, because at morning they're coming up upon Holofernes' camp, and all the soldiers are like, wow, Israel is really being pretty go ahead and just wants to die immediately because they're coming at us. They're coming for us. We're going to defeat them like in seconds. So the head person or the hand servant of Holofernes goes into Holofernes' tent and finds his body without his head. And everyone is in uproar. Everyone is freaking out. Everyone is just picking up their bags and just fleeing immediately. They're just out of fear. And they don't know what happened. How could this be? How could their captain be dead? And such a cruel and beheaded. Like, no one saw that coming. So they defeat all of Holofernes' army. They go out to all of Israel. They go out to the nearby kingdoms, and they tell everyone what has happened, and they kill all of Holofernes' army. And Judith then says a song of praise, offering praise for the Lord for giving her strength and courage to do what needed to be done. And it ends with the renown and death of Judith. She lives her life out in Bethulia, where she was. A lot of men wanted and desired to marry her, but she never remarried. And she lived to be 105 years old. And this is the key thing that I want to point out. It said before that descendants would remember her for ages. And it reflects it and affirms it again here. And no one ever again spread terror among the people of Israel in the days of Judith, or for a long time after her death. And back in chapter 15, verse 9, it says, "And when they met her, they all blessed her with one accord and said to her, 'You are the exaltation of Jerusalem. You are the great glory of Israel. You are the great pride of our nation.'" The first part, you are the exaltation of Jerusalem. Does that remind you of anyone? So down at the bottom, it had like a little asterisk. So I looked down at the bottom. And it says, "This passage is included in the office for the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary on the Assumption on August 15th. It reminds me of Mary. Like the correlation between them two. And then when you think of the whole story and what Judith did compared to what Mary will do, it's mind-blowing. Like Judith saved Jerusalem. And then Mary came to bring about a new Jerusalem, bring about Christ. So kind of similar. Holofernes, he's beheaded. Judith cuts off the head of the snake. Jesus comes through Mary to defeat Satan on the cross. Isn't that so cool? I'm just bewildered when I realized that today. Like, it was beautiful. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this reflection, enjoyed the book of Judith if you read it. If you didn't read it, I highly suggest reading it sometime. It is so full of just us as women in a different light. Like, our femininity is beautiful, and it explains it in here as well. And the gift that we are. And it describes it beautifully through the book of Judith, but also shows the courageous side. The side that we have the courage and the power that we have as women when we have God on our side to be able to witness to others God's promises, God's love, God's mercy. Just beautiful. So thank you. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and happy February, happy second month. I hope that you guys all have a blessed week.